There are moments when life seems to pause, not in the way a machine halts, but as if the invisible gears of reality itself have slowed into a strange suspension. The world still moves, yet for you, it feels as though everything hangs in an atmosphere outside of time. The conversations around you arrive with an echo, as though spoken from another dimension. The ambitions that once burned with urgency flicker into ash. Even the desires that once magnetized your heart lose their charge, fading like constellations vanishing at dawn. At first glance, this emptiness feels like an error in your existence. You've been told that to live is to move, that to succeed is to run, that momentum itself equals meaning. So when momentum dissolves, the mind begins to panic, whispering of failure, collapse, or the loss of purpose. Yet beneath the stillness, beneath the hollow silence, something vaster is unfolding. The pause is not stagnation. It is the prelude to your transformation. This interval is a universe downloading a new operating system into your consciousness. In quantum physics, when a particle prepares to leap into a higher state, it first enters a mysterious condition known as superposition. It hovers not in paralysis, but in possibility. Every outcome, every orbit, every potential is alive within that threshold. What looks like nothing to the impatient eye is, in truth, the most electric moment imaginable. It is a state where infinite futures shimmer all at once, waiting for the spark of awareness to collapse them into form. You're standing in that field now. You are the particle vibrating between realities, waiting for the decisive note of consciousness to call your next state into being. This is not limbo. This is the cosmic loading screen. The chapter you are about to enter is being rendered beneath the surface, pixel by pixel, line by line, into the architecture of your timeline. The linear mind resists this. It demands evidence, progress, certainties it can tally and quantify. Yet the quantum does not operate by linear proofs. It is governed by coherence, resonance, and alignment. The dissolving of your old drive, your old architecture, is not a death, but a dismantling. Picture your life as a cathedral of frequencies, each belief and memory forming the intricate lattice of its walls. That cathedral has housed you faithfully for years, but your soul has chosen to ascend beyond its design. The walls must come down so a larger structure can take its place. The demolition does not appear in flames or chaos. It arrives in silence. Old contracts expire quietly. Ancient identities slip away like threads unraveling. Beliefs dissolve as though they were never yours to begin with. To the ordinary mind, this can feel like annihilation, a terrifying vacuum, but to the deeper self, it is a clearest signal that everything is about to realign magnificently. Mystics of countless traditions recognize this interval. They called it the sacred pause, the pregnant darkness, the silence before the word. Within this void, creation gestates. It is not emptiness, but saturation, not vacancy, but a womb overflowing with potential. In this space, your consciousness reorganizes itself to match the frequency of the future it has been summoning. Strategies, ambitions, and masks forged for survival in the old world cannot accompany you here, because they belong to someone who no longer exists. Your only task is to breathe into the spaciousness, to resist the urge to frantically fill it with old distractions, to recognize that silence is not absence, but saturation with quantum intelligence. You are being rewritten at the level of vibration. You are being aligned with a version of yourself that your future has already called forth. Even neuroscience confirms the necessity of this process. The brain is not a fixed organ, but a fluid web of connections. It rewires itself in response to stillness as much as to activity. Periods of apparent emptiness are essential for the formation of new pathways. The silence is when new maps are drawn. The nervous system recalibrates itself to hold frequencies it has never sustained before. Cells learn to embody a higher resonance, a baseline of coherence that cannot be forced through effort. This integration period is unavoidable. You cannot drag the static of an old frequency into the coherence of the new. Release must precede reception. Consider the moment before a master composer raises the baton. The concert hall hushes into perfect stillness. Every musician holds their breath, bow poised, drumstick ready. That silence is not dead time. It is the foundation of music. Consider the archer drawing back the bowstring. The tension of stillness is not hesitation. It is the very power that will launch the arrow into distance, impossible by muscle alone. Right now, existence is drawing you back, not to confine you, but to catapult you. You are in the draw of the bow, the intake of cosmic breath, the hush before the downbeat. What feels like stillness is the preparation for trajectory. In the quantum field, this is described by the principle of non-locality. Information does not require distance to travel. It leaps instantaneously across vast expanses. Your consciousness is experiencing this phenomenon now. You are entangled with a version of yourself that already inhabits the timeline you seek. That future self is transmitting back to the membrane of time, pouring data into your awareness. This is why, amid the emptiness, flashes of knowing strike you with clarity. Questions that baffled you for months are answered in an instant. Decisions crystallize without logic. These are not random sparks. They are quantum transmissions, whispers from the self that has already leapt, reaching backward to guide you forward. Yet many souls misinterpret this stage. They feel the suspension and panic, calling it stagnation or failure. They scramble to fill the silence with activity, to repair the dissolving structures, to cling to the fading shore. They mistake emptiness for absence, when it is the proof of arrival. Those who sabotage their leap do so because they could not trust the quiet. Those who cross, however, embrace the void as evidence of transformation. They understand that when reality grows strangely calm, it is not evidence of nothing, but evidence of everything. For in the stillness, the subtle indicators begin to surface. A chance meeting resonates like destiny. A sentence overheard pierces deeper than years of searching. An emotional release arrives unprovoked, clearing debris unseen. Each is a frequency adjustment, aligning you more precisely with the trajectory of your new world. So if you feel displaced, suspended between no longer and not yet, unable to return yet uncertain of where you will arrive, understand this. You are precisely where you need to be. You are in the launching chamber. The silence is not the end of your music, but its overture. The discord you feel is energy winding itself into coherence. The pause is not a void, but the prelude to inevitability. The invitation is simple. Stop clinging to the dissolving edges. Stop believing the hush means absence. Trust that the dismantling of what you knew is the most direct sign that what you have summoned is already near. The leap is not waiting for the world to change. It is waiting for you to release the remnants of the self that cannot cross. This moment, quiet as breath, is the birthplace of the leap. The stillness you inhabit is not the silence of death, but the silence of birth. Within it, patterns collapse and reorganize. The architecture of your energy, once a fortress of familiar rhythms, begins to tremble as its foundations dissolve. The walls you lean against for years, beliefs, roles, identities, no longer bear your weight. Their fading does not mean abandonment. It means fulfillment. Their contract have expired. Their purpose was temporary. At first, this feels like betrayal. How could the very pursuits that once defined your purpose suddenly lose their meaning? How could relationships, dreams, and roles that anchored you now feel distant, hollow, unrecognizable? But this too is part of the quantum design. When your vibration begins to accelerate, when your soul aligns with a higher field, anything tethered to the lower frequency can no longer sustain you. Like autumn leaves falling away from the tree, these attachments must release. Their departure is not punishment, but permission. The mind resists. It scrambles to restore what is fading, desperate to rebuild a reality that no longer belongs to you. It mistakes the crumbling for failure, when it is the blueprint of freedom. What feels like disintegration is actually differentiation. You are no longer resonating with the collective frequency that once defined your orbit. You are separating, not from people or places in their essence, but from the energetic lattice that bound you to them. You are tuning to a new station, and everything not vibrating there becomes inaudible. This is a discord phase, the friction where your inner transformation accelerates faster than your external circumstances. The dissonance manifests in subtle ways. Conversations that once nourished you now feel shallow. Work that once sparked passion leaves you numb. Even your own internal dialogue begins to sound foreign, as if the voice that speaks within your head belongs to someone you used to know. In quantum mechanics, this phenomenon is mirrored in decoherence. Two systems that once oscillated together slip out of sync. Their shared harmony collapses. Your old world and your emerging one are no longer vibrating as one. You're straddling the threshold, one foot on each boat drifting in opposite directions. The longer you remain, the more unstable it becomes. The choice becomes inevitable. Step fully into one, or risk the pain of splitting between both. This tension is not error. It is a signal that the system must upgrade. Imagine running advanced software on obsolete hardware. The screen freezes, commands falter. The system sputters under the demand. Not because it has failed, but because the hardware cannot sustain the program. In the same way, your current circumstances cannot sustain the frequency of your soul's expansion. The mismatch itself is the proof that the leap is near. And so, life begins to show you the fractures. Connections no longer align. Passions feel muted. Identities slip through your fingers. The structures that once supported you now resist your weight. This resistance is not evidence of failure, but the stress of incompatible systems. It is the universe signaling that it is time to leap. The danger here lies in misinterpretation. Most souls, when they feel this discord, rush to patch it, to glue together the fragments of a dissolving world. They cling to the sinking vessel, pouring energy into mending what cannot be sustained. They interpret the fading as loss instead of proof of transformation. Yet this effort only delays the inevitable, prolonging the suffering of transition. The wiser path is surrender, to see the emptiness not as vacancy, but as clearing, to trust that when the familiar falls away, it does so to make space for the coherence of what arrives. The more you allow the old to dissolve, the faster the new can stabilize. The more you cling, the slower the transition unfolds. This is not passivity. It is precision. In the quantum field, action is not measured by intensity, but by alignment. Effort is heavy, slow, often desperate. Alignment is effortless, instant, like a lock sliding open when the correct frequency is present. A single moment of resonance achieves more than years of struggle. The leap does not require frantic building, but faithful releasing. During this discord, your soul may orchestrate encounters to accelerate the process. You may notice the same kinds of challenges resurfacing: scarcity, rejection, anger, fear. Not because you are regressing, but because the last fragments of those patterns are rising to be cleared. These recurrences are mirrors. They are invitations, not punishments. They give you the chance to demonstrate who you are now, to respond not as the old self, but as the one you are becoming. Every time you meet scarcity with abundance consciousness, every time you meet anger with compassion, every time you meet doubt with presence, you're not only proving your growth, but anchoring the new frequency into the field. You are collapsing the old probability wave, dissolving the version of yourself that lived within those patterns. With every elevated response, you weaken the old circuit and strengthen the new one. The leap happens not in grand gestures, but in these small, definitive choices. And yet, the discord persists until a moment of collapse. In physics, an electron does not gradually climb into a higher orbital. It absorbs the precise quantum of energy required and instantaneously leaps. One moment it is here, the next it is there. So too with your leap. The moment your frequency fully matches the reality you are stepping into, the shift is instant. There is no middle ground, no gradual slope. The old dissolves, and the new becomes your only home. This explains why excessive effort backfires. Frantic action is a symptom of mistrust, evidence that the mind is still trying to drag the old frequency into the new reality. But these realms are incompatible. The typewriter cannot access the internet. The old tools cannot open the new doors. Effort alone is powerless where alignment is absent. And so, the invitation becomes clear. To release rather than to grasp, to align rather than to strive. To trust that the very discord you feel is not the end of your journey, but the necessary proof that your new frequency has already been born within you. It is here in this phase that the emotions amplify. Doubt and clarity, fear and exhilaration, emptiness and knowing, all surge like waves crashing against each other. One moment, you are convinced that destiny is unfolding. The next, you wonder if you are deluding yourself with fantasies. The oscillation is intense, sometimes unbearable, yet this too is evidence of nearness. For in quantum mechanics, as in consciousness, the closer a system comes to coherence, the more violently it oscillates before collapse. Your emotions are not failures. They are the signatures of transition. They are the body's way of adjusting to frequencies it has never sustained before. To interpret them as regression is to misunderstand their message. They are turbulence, not catastrophe. They are the proof that you are flying to new atmospheric layers, altitudes the old maps could never chart. And so the practice becomes one of neutrality, to see joy and fear not as opposites, but as currents, to let excitement rise without clinging to it as proof, and to let doubt pass without judging it as failure, to breathe into both as whether moving across your sky, while you remain the calm center. This is mastery, not the absence of fluctuation, but the ability to remain coherent within it. When you learn this, when you stop categorizing your emotions as enemies or allies, you transform turbulence into initiation. The universe is not asking whether you can avoid the storm, but whether you can hold your frequency through it. For the leap is not only about landing in a new timeline, it is about becoming the self who can inhabit it. The discord, the emptiness, the amplified emotions, all are thresholds. They are not distractions from your path, but the path itself. They are the crucible in which the density burns away, leaving only the essence of who you are becoming. They are the confirmation that you are already entangled with the future you have summoned, and that the leap is not distant but imminent. Soon, the oscillation will resolve. Soon, the boats drifting apart will demand your choice. And when you choose, the field will collapse into coherence. The silence will break not with noise, but with clarity. And you will find yourself seamlessly and irreversibly inhabiting the reality that once seemed impossible. There comes a point in the passage when the silence turns from a void into a furnace. Emotions surge with intensity that startles even the strongest soul. It feels as if someone has reached into the architecture of your heart and amplified every frequency beyond recognition. A whisper of fear becomes thunder. A spark of joy becomes an inferno. Certainty ignites, then vanishes in an instant, replaced by doubt, so heavy it bends your very breath. This is not instability. It is initiation. Your consciousness is oscillating between realities, flickering like a candle flame in shifting winds. One moment you are luminous with conviction, certain that something magnificent presses against the veil. The next you are haunted by the suspicion that you are fabricating illusions too fragile to bear weight. Yet both experiences belong to the same field of transformation. In neuroscience, the mind is described as a predictive machine. It builds expectations of the future from a residue of the past. It runs familiar software, not because the past is aligned, but because it was known. Familiarity masquerades as safety. So even as your higher self magnetizes you toward new frequencies, your subconscious clings to the old codes, replaying them as if their repetition could guarantee stability. This battle between programming and possibility manifests in your emotions. Each surge of hope, each plunge of fear, is a signal of two timelines tugging at your awareness. You are in superposition, inhabiting both simultaneously, oscillating between the density of what was and the coherence of what is arriving. The turbulence is not proof of failure. It is the atmosphere of the leap itself. The body reacts as though under siege. Tears arrive unprovoked, carrying grief so ancient you cannot trace its origin. Laughter erupts for no reason, like a fountain breaking open in the desert. Dreams grow vivid, drenched in symbols, sometimes terrifying, sometimes ecstatic, often incomprehensible. These are not random. They are the nervous system purging densities that cannot survive the altitude you are approaching. The subconscious is translating the collision of realities into images it can barely hold. The temptation here is to categorize, to call joy progress and fear aggression, to cling to certainty as success and doubt as danger. But this duality is the very trap you are meant to transcend. The truth is that every current, whether sweet or bitter, is part of the same river. Emotions are not verdicts. They are messengers. They are energy signatures moving through your field, each carrying data about where your attention resides in this moment. If you resist them, if you clutch the joy and fight the fear, you amplify the oscillation. The swing between poles grows violent. But if you witness them, breathe into them, Allow them without judgment. They become currents that move you toward coherence. The storm does not vanish, but you become the calm center within it. And from that center, stability emerges. This is why mystics across traditions taught the art of neutrality. Not numbness, not indifference, but presence unshaken by weather, to feel fully without drowning, to remain aligned even as the landscape shifts. In this way, emotional turbulence ceases to be chaos and becomes training. The universe is not testing your worthiness. It is strengthening your coherence. It is asking, can you hold the frequency of your new reality even as the winds of the old one howl against you? To do so is to prove yourself ready, not in the eyes of some external judge, but in the resonance of your own field. Your emotions become the flight simulator, exposing you to turbulence, so that when the leap completes, you are prepared to navigate the unknown skies of your new world. During this phase, synchronicities arrive like sparks on the horizon. A song plays at precisely the moment you need its words. A stranger's conversation echoes the exact thoughts stirring in your mind. Numbers repeat, symbols recur, patterns weave themselves into your awareness. These are not coincidences. They are transmissions from the timeline you are stepping into, breadcrumbs left by the self that already resides there. The more you notice, the more they multiply, weaving a net of coherence across the chaos. And then the final illusions rise. Patterns you thought were conquered resurface with uncanny clarity. The same scarcity that haunted you years ago returns in a new disguise. The same wound in love that you believed healed awakens at the touch of a passing encounter. Old doubts resurface with fresh voices, whispering their familiar fears. Many mistake these echoes as regression, believing that they are falling back into failure. But these moments are not evidence of weakness. They are the last remnants of your old frequency asking for resolution. Think of them as a final system check before takeoff. The subconscious offers you the old programming one last time, not to bind you, but to give you the opportunity to choose differently. Each recurrence is a mirror, showing you who you were, so that you can affirm who you are now. The leap does not erase your past. It integrates it, collapses it, transforms it into fuel. From a neurological perspective, these echoes are the old neural pathways firing for survival. The brain prefers efficiency, and efficiency lies in repetition. The oldest circuits are the strongest, so they flare one last time, hoping to preserve themselves. But each time you respond with the elevated frequency of your becoming, you weaken their hold. You collapse the wave of probability that sustained them, anchoring instead the circuitry of your chosen reality. This is the collapse of superposition. Until you make a choice, both versions of you exist simultaneously. The one who reacts from history and the one who responds from alignment. The moment you act as a latter, the former dissolves. The wave collapses. The field reflects only the version you have embodied. And this is why the days before a leap feel electrically charged. Every decision glows with consequence. Every encounter hums with meaning. The field is not punishing you. It is amplifying the mirror. It is asking you, not with words but with resonance, show me who you are now. The mistake would be to interpret these tests as judgments. They are ceremonies, gateways. They are not cosmic trials to prove worth, but sacred rites that affirm alignment. The door does not ask you to justify yourself. It simply reflects the frequency you carry. And if that frequency resonates with the reality beyond it, the door swings open without resistance. This is why the leap often comes quietly. In films, transformation is wrapped in spectacle. Light splitting the sky, orchestra swelling, dramatic revelation. But in authentic reality, the shift arrives like dawn. One morning, the fear that consumed you is gone. The hunger that drove you has vanished. The trigger that would once collapse you passes without impact. And you realize that you are different, not because fireworks announced it, but because what once bound you no longer exists. The leap is less explosion than resonance, less drama than integration. It is a naturalness of breathing in a higher altitude, of existing in a state that feels like home because it always was. You do not perform your new reality. You inhabit it. The old frequency dissolves so completely that it becomes hard to remember why it ever felt real. In that moment, you understand why the silence mattered, why the discord mattered, why the turbulence mattered. Each was a refinement, a recalibration, a sculpting of your frequency until it matched the resonance of your chosen world. And when the match was complete, the field responded instantly, not with spectacle but with coherence. The leap has no fanfare because it does not need it. The true announcement is the absence of struggle, the quiet normalcy of alignment, the realization that you have arrived not through force but through resonance. And yet, this is only the beginning. For once you inhabit the new frequency, the task becomes not to chase but to embody, to stop asking, did it work? And begin asking, how do I live fully as a self? For every choice you make from this place weaves a field around you, not as aspiration but as reality. The quiet arrival is the paradox of the leap. For all the turbulence that precedes it, the moment itself slips in like breath. You awaken and realize that something fundamental has shifted, not because lightning split the sky, but because you're no longer who you were. The anxieties that once coiled around your chest dissolve like mist. The obsessions that devoured your attention are irrelevant, like dreams fading after dawn. A conversation that would have wounded you yesterday now leaves you steady, unshaken, as though the hooks themselves have dissolved. The mind resists simplicity. It expected spectacle. It wanted trumpets, signs, undeniable proof. Instead, it finds a naturalness so complete that it questions whether transformation happened at all. But this is the signature of the quantum leap. The shift occurs not in noise but in resonance. One moment the electron vibrates in one orbital. The next it has absorbed the exact quantum of energy and exists entirely in another. There is no gradual slope, no in-between, only the instant of establishment. So it is with you. The leap does not arrive with fireworks because fireworks belong to effort. True transformation is seamless. From the perspective of the brain, this stage is integration. Old circuits stop firing. New ones strengthen until they no longer require conscious rehearsal. The new state is not an act of will, but a default of being. You no longer need to force different choices. They arise naturally, as breath arises. What once felt like effort now feels like inevitability. The new self is not a costume. It is the skin you live in. This is why so many souls miss the moment of their leap. They wait for the drama, for confirmation external and undeniable. But the leap is not an event outside of you. It is an arrival inside of you. It is not the shift of circumstance first, but the shift of frequency that inevitably sculpts circumstance to match it. To miss this is to miss the essence, that you have already become the version you sought, and reality now bends to mirror you. In this stage, subtle signs ripple through daily life. Preferences alter. Foods you once craved taste foreign. Songs that stirred your soul feel flat. Places that comforted you feel strangely empty. These are not signs of loss, but of alignment. Your vibration has risen, and the frequencies that once matched you no longer do. What felt like home is revealed as shelter, temporary and useful, but not eternal. The soul gravitates toward resonance, and resonance has shifted. People too begin to drift, not always through conflict, but through quiet divergence. Conversations stall where they once flowed. Gatherings that felt nourishing now feel exhausting. Relationships dissolve without judgment, not because they are wrong, but because their resonance belongs to a timeline you no longer inhabit. The quantum field reorganizes your environment to reflect the frequency you now sustain. There is no need for blame, only recognition that vibration dictates orbit. This dissolution can feel lonely, but it is confirmation. You are not losing. You are recalibrating. Space is being carved so that new alignments, new companions, new structures can emerge. The absence itself is proof of the upgrade. The cathedral walls fell so that the new architecture could rise. And as the dust settles, you discover a tranquility deeper than anything ambition ever gave you. The hunger that once drove you no longer whispers. The chase that once consumed you has ended. You have ceased pursuing because you have begun inhabiting. This is the true essence of arrival. The leap is not about getting somewhere, but about becoming someone who no longer needs to chase what already exists within. This tranquility is dangerous only if misunderstood. The mind, conditioned by struggle, may interpret quiet as stagnation. It may try to resurrect the chaos to prove that life is still moving. But drama belongs to the old timeline. Flow belongs to the new. The quiet is not absence. It is coherence. It is a universe no longer scattering your energy across incompatible realities, but aligning all currents into one seamless river. From here, the practice shifts. It is no longer about striving to leap, but about embodying the leap. Instead of asking, did it work? The question becomes, how do I live from this state? Every choice now reinforces a reality you have already entered. Each decision is not an effort to create change, but an expression of alignment. When action arises, it does so with clarity and flow, no longer weighed down by the frantic push of desperation. The field responds with elegance. Opportunities emerge without force. Encounters align with uncanny precision. Synchronicities multiply, not because you are chasing signs, but because you have become the sign. Life bends to coherence. The universe reflects the frequency you are being, and because you are being without effort, the reflection arrives without strain. And yet, the leap is not the conclusion. It is a foundation. Once you inhabit the new frequency, the invitation is to stabilize it, to anchor it so deeply that it becomes unshakable. For the mind will be tempted to regress, to test, to doubt. It will whisper, "Are you sure? Is this real? Do you deserve it?" Each whisper is an echo of the old frequency attempting to reassert itself. But you now know the pattern. You now know the trap. The response is not battle, but embodiment. To live the frequency so fully that the old voices dissolve in irrelevance. The deeper truth reveals itself. The leap was never about crossing distance, but about collapsing illusion. You were never separate from the timeline you desired. You were entangled with it all along. The leap was not the creation of something new, but the removal of everything that obscured what already was. The quiet arrival is simply the recognition that you have always been here. And once you see this, a new kind of power awakens. You realize that leaps are not rare miracles, but natural mechanics of consciousness. That reality bends not through force, but through resonance. That the field does not respond to pleading or striving, but to coherence. And coherence is nothing more than the alignment of thought, emotion, and presence into a single vibration of truth. From this vantage, life becomes less about striving for transformation and more about embodying alignment. Less about chasing signs and more about living as a sign. The leap is not an endpoint. It is the beginning of a new way of existing. One where change is no longer a desperate pursuit, but an effortless unfolding. And so you begin to live differently. Not waiting, not watching, not doubting, but being. Choosing each moment as a version of yourself who has already arrived. Acting from abundance rather than scarcity. Responding with compassion rather than fear. Rooting in presence rather than chasing the horizon. Each choice stabilizes the frequency, weaving the new world around you. And in this weaving, a deeper peace arises. The leap ceases to be something you remember and becomes something you are. It is no longer a story of transition, but the fabric of your being. You are coherence. You are resonance. You are the timeline that once seemed unreachable, now as natural as breath. The deeper you settle into this frequency, the more you realize that what felt like an arrival is truly an unveiling. The leap is not a singular event sealed in time, but a revelation of what was always entangled with you. The shift is less a journey across distance and more a recognition that the new world had already been waiting, humming in the field, tethered to your becoming. You did not cross space. You collapse illusion. And yet, this stage carries its own initiations. For the leap is only the beginning of embodiment. It is not enough to touch the new vibration for a fleeting moment. The invitation is to anchor it until it becomes unshakable, to live so fully from coherence that no storm can fracture your resonance. The subtle whispers of the old frequency will still try to find you here, not with the same weight they once carried, but as faint echoes, ghostly patterns surfacing to be dissolved. At times, the universe will arrange mirrors to ask you the only question that matters. Who are you now? It may bring back an old scarcity pattern in new disguise, a financial challenge, a sudden uncertainty in resources. It may surface echoes of rejection or doubt, not as punishment, but as confirmation that you can respond from your new self. Each moment is a choice point, a fork where you either reaffirm the old or embody the new. Think of these moments as the final embers of a fire dying in the night. They flare when stirred, not because the blaze still rules you, but because it longs to be extinguished in your awareness. Each time you respond from alignment, you scatter the embers into ash. Each elevated choice is a collapse of another probability wave. This is why what some call tests before or after leap are not examinations, but ceremonies. The field is not judging you. It is showing you that resonance is real, that every action carries vibration, and that reality is sculpted not by effort, but by coherence. What you embody is what becomes. At this stage, you begin to notice the subtlety of guidance. No longer arriving as thunderbolts or dramatic visions, it emerges as a quiet current running beneath your days. A phrase overheard that pierces like prophecy. A symbol repeating itself in ways too precise to ignore. A meeting that feels both accidental and inevitable. The new timeline communicates not with spectacle, but with elegance. It speaks in patterns and whispers, requiring presence to perceive. And this is the challenge of embodiment. To stop demanding fireworks and begin trusting flow. To cease looking for confirmation outside and recognize that the only true confirmation is coherence within. For as long as you keep seeking signs, you subtly declare that you do not yet believe. But when you inhabit belief as being, the signs appear everywhere, unbidden, effortless, woven into the ordinary fabric of life. There is a paradox here. The more you chase the leap, the further it recedes. The more you try to accelerate integration, the longer it persists. This is because desperation is static. Resistance scrambles your frequency. The universe responds not to your urgency, but to your clarity. The leap is not waiting for perfect timing. It is waiting for perfect coherence. And coherence is born in stillness, in trust, in the quiet conviction that the new world is already yours. Consider the diver ascending from the deep. If they rush to the surface, the pressure change fractures their body. They must rise slowly, pausing to recalibrate, to allow the body to adjust to the new atmosphere. In the same way, when your consciousness shifts frequencies, you must honor the decompression. If you force a leap without integration, your system pulls you back, not as punishment but as protection. This is why patience, trust, and presence are not passive virtues. They are active catalysts. The field speaks to you during the stage, but in languages subtler than thought. You may feel drawn to silence, to stillness, to long walks without distraction. You may notice your dreams weaving symbols too intricate to decipher, yet too resonant to dismiss. You may feel emotions rise and fall with no apparent cause. Each is data, each is integration. The key is to allow them, to breathe into them, to trust that every sensation is recalibration. It is here that many falter. Conditioned to equate progress with constant motion, they interpret stillness as failure and grasp with the old mechanisms. Busyness, overthinking, forcing outcomes. But effort belongs to the old timeline. In the quantum, alignment moves faster than labor. A single moment of pure coherence does what weeks of scattered striving cannot. The leap answers resonance, not exhaustion. So the work now is not to prove, but to embody. To live as the self you have already become, even when external reality has not fully caught up. To choose abundance even when resources waver. To choose compassion even when anger would feel justified. To choose presence even when the mind demands certainty. Each act is not only a declaration, but a vibration. Each vibration not only shapes the field, but confirms to yourself that you are coherence embodied. And the more you do, the more the field stabilizes. The turbulence resolves. The oscillation collapses. Soon, you are no longer flickering between worlds, but living entirely within the one you chose. The transition becomes invisible, seamless, until you realize that you can hardly remember what it felt like to be anyone else. This is the true elegance of the leap. It is not marked by fanfare, but by inevitability. One day you look back at who you were and realize that the self feels like a distant character, a role you once played but no longer inhabit. The leap has erased the gap between vision and embodiment. You are the frequency. You are the timeline. And in this realization, a deeper peace arises. You stop searching. You stop chasing. You stop testing the universe for proof. You understand that life is not a puzzle solved, but a frequency to embody. And the field, in turn, reflects you with coherence so complete that opportunities align without strain, relationships flow without force, and synchronicities appear like the natural rhythm of breath. The leap was never about what you could acquire, but about who you could become. And now, having become, you realize the truth. Nothing essential was ever outside of you. You did not summon abundance. You uncovered it. You did not manifest love. You embodied it. You did not create transformation. You allowed it. This is the art of anchoring. To root so deeply into coherence that even when the winds of uncertainty return, they cannot uproot you. To live in such resonance that doubt no longer erodes you but passes like weather. To embody so completely that the leap becomes invisible, not because it was small, but because it is now your nature. And from this anchored state, a new horizon appears. The leap you thought was destination reveals itself as threshold. Beyond it lies not an end but an unfolding. The leap was not the final chapter. It was the first page of a new book. What you begin to see, once the leap is no longer an anticipation but a lived state, is that the field never truly required your struggle. The universe was not waiting to be persuaded by your prayers or convinced by your striving. It was waiting for resonance, for coherence, for the alignment of your being with the frequency that always existed. The leap did not create a new timeline. It revealed the one that was already entangled with you. And now, from this vantage, life begins to look less like a ladder and more like a spiral. You no longer see transformation as linear progress, climbing one rung after another towards some distant pinnacle. You see it as orbit, as harmonics, as spirals of energy collapsing and expanding into new configurations. Each leap is not a step upward, but a shift in wavelength. Each timeline is not ahead or behind, but vibrating in parallel, waiting for your coherence to align with it. This understanding dissolves the pressure to force destiny. You realize that the question was never, how do I make this happen? But always, how do I become the self for whom this is natural? And in that question lies liberation. For the work of becoming is not frantic labor, but precise alignment, the tuning of thought, feeling, and presence into a single chord. When that chord resonates, the field reorganizes. Life reshapes itself without strain. This realization alters the way you move through the world. No longer do you interpret quiet phases as failure. You recognize them as integration, as the sacred pauses where the nervous system recalibrates. No longer do you resist the dissolving of relationships or identities. You honor them as evidence that the old frequency has completed its role. No longer do you panic at turbulence or doubt. You recognize them as signs that collapse is near, that coherence is being refined. From this space, you begin to inhabit life differently. You walk through days as though each step is both ordinary and miraculous, knowing that the ordinary is a miracle. You see patterns where others see accidents. You hear whispers of guidance in places others dismiss as noise. You notice how the field arranges itself not through spectacle, but through elegance. The right person arrives at the right moment. The right words land in your awareness at the precise instant you need them. What others call coincidence becomes your constant language with reality. The old urgency dissolves. You no longer feel compelled to prove yourself, to chase validation, to accumulate milestones as evidence of progress. You understand that those pursuits belong to the scarcity of the old timeline, where worth had to be earned and life had to be conquered. In this frequency, you know that worth is inherent, that life flows in cooperation with coherence. You no longer force. You allow. You no longer beg. You embody. And yet, this does not mean passivity. It means precision. When action arises, it does so with clarity, effortless and exact. You act not from desperation, but from inspiration. Not to prove, but to express. The difference is vast. Effort scatters. Alignment concentrates. The smallest action taken in resonance reshapes more than years of toil done in misalignment. In this stage, the universe feels like an extension of your own nervous system. You sense its rhythms as you sense your breath. You respond to its currents as naturally as you adjust to the wind on your skin. This intimacy dissolves the illusion of separation. You are no longer an isolated self struggling against the vastness of existence. You are an extension of existence itself, a wave within the ocean, shaping and being shaped by the whole. This realization brings a humility deeper than any lecture could teach. You see that the leap was never about bending reality to your personal will, but about dissolving into the coherence of the greater field. Your desires were never trivial, but they were not solitary either. They were signals, threads tugging you toward alignment with the whole. What you called manifestation was always cooperation, the dance of your resonance with the resonance of the cosmos. And in this recognition, gratitude overflows. Not the polite gratitude of recited affirmations, but the visceral gratitude that saturates your being when you realize that you are held always in the arms of coherence. That even the turbulence, even the silence, even the dissolving were not mistakes but necessary steps. That every emptiness was fullness in disguise. That every ending was expansion concealed. The peace that arises here is not fragile. It does not depend on conditions. It is not broken by setbacks or challenged by uncertainty. It is rooted in the knowing that you are not moving toward wholeness, but from wholeness. The leap did not make you complete. It reminded you that you always were. And yet, as deep as this peace is, the field whispers again. There is more, not in the sense of lack, but in the sense of expansion. For coherence does not stagnate. It multiplies. The moment you stabilize one frequency, the invitation arises to expand into another. The leap was not the conclusion. It was the initiation. Life is not a single quantum jump, a symphony of them, an endless unfolding of resonance upon resonance, coherence upon coherence. From this perspective, you stop treating leaps as rare miracles. You see them as natural mechanics, as the very architecture of consciousness. You realize that each time you release, each time you align, each time you embody, you collapse another wave, anchor another reality, inhabit another timeline. The leap becomes less of an event and more of a lifestyle, less of a dramatic shift and more of a continual unfolding. This understanding brings with it a responsibility. For once you know that coherence sculpts reality, you can no longer claim ignorance when you scatter your energy. You recognize that doubt is not just an inconvenience, but a frequency you transmit. That fear, if clung to, is not just a feeling but a signal. That every thought, every emotion, every choice reverberates through field, entangling with the timelines you may or may not wish to inhabit. But this responsibility is not a burden. It is empowerment. You realize that you are never powerless, never lost, never at the mercy of circumstance. You are always resonating, always transmitting, always shaping. The only question is whether you are doing so consciously or unconsciously, from coherence or from fragmentation. And so the practice deepens, not into complexity, but into presence. Each moment becomes an opportunity to embody the frequency of your choosing. Each breath becomes a declaration. Each choice becomes an anchor. You live not in anticipation of a leap, but in the continuous awareness that you are always leaping, always collapsing waves, always weaving timelines. And as this awareness deepens, life itself becomes a sacred ceremony. You no longer divide the spiritual from the ordinary, the mystical from the mundane. Every conversation, every gesture, every silence becomes a thread in the tapestry of resonance. The leap is not something you wait for, but something you inhabit. And the field, in turn, reflects coherence with coherence, abundance with abundance, love with love. This is a quiet power of the leap you have already taken. The recognition that reality is fluid, that consciousness is causal, and that you are not a passive passenger, but an active co-creator in the unfolding of worlds. The leap was not an accident. It was your alignment. And alignment is the truest power there is. There comes a moment, after the turbulence and the silence, after the collapse and the arrival, when you realize that the leap was never about the leap itself. It was always about who you would become in the process of aligning. The quantum jump is not a trophy, not a finish line, not a single exalted moment to be framed and remembered. It is the unveiling of your capacity to resonate with the infinite. It is a revelation that you are not a traveler moving from world to world, but a frequency tuning itself to endless songs. The leap, in truth, is not an exception. It is the rule. Reality is fluid, malleable, a vast field of probabilities humming in superposition. You exist within it as both observer and participant, collapsing waveforms with every breath, shaping timelines with every thought, every feeling, every presence you bring into the moment. The field is not outside of you. It is you. You are not standing in the current of destiny. You are the current. When this truth settles into your bones, the weight you carry dissolves. You understand why the stillness was necessary, why the discord was sacred, why the turbulence was grace in disguise. They were never obstacles. They were the refining fire, the sculpting hand, the womb of coherence. They stripped away the noise so that you could hear the signal. They dismantled the architecture so that you could build on resonance alone. Now, you walk differently, not because you force yourself to, but because you cannot walk any other way. The frequency you embody has become your skin. You no longer beg the universe for signs because you have become the sign. You no longer plead for alignment because you are alignment. The world rearranges itself around you, not because you chase it, but because coherence is irresistible. And still, the field whispers, there is more, not more to chase, not more to prove, but more to unfold. For coherence does not stagnate. It expands. Each leap opens a doorway to another, each frequency the threshold to a higher one. Life is not a single transformation, but an endless symphony of transformations. The spiral does not end. It widens, ever upward, ever outward, carrying you deeper into yourself and further into the infinite. With this awareness comes a new relationship to uncertainty. No longer do you fear the unknown, for you see it as womb rather than void. No longer do you dread endings, for you see them as a compost of becoming. No longer do you resist stillness, for you know it as gestation. The unknown is no longer your enemy. It is your canvas. The silence is no longer your fear. It is your ally. And so, when the next suspension comes, as it inevitably will, you will not panic. You will not mistake it for regression. You will not scramble to fill it with noise. You will recognize it as a sacred pause, the loading screen, the intake of breath before the song begins again. You will smile into the emptiness because you will know that it is full. You will rest in the turbulence because you will know that it is proof of nearness. You will honor the dissolving because you will know that it is space-making. This is mastery. Not the absence of storms, but the knowing of what storms mean. Not the eradication of turbulence, but the ability to fly through it without losing coherence. Not the denial of fear, but the recognition that fear is a frequency passing through, not a verdict carved into stone. Mastery is not control. It is harmony. It is the art of remaining coherent in any weather, of staying aligned no matter the current. And from mastery arises freedom. For when you know that you are resonance itself, you are no longer bound by circumstance. You are no longer enslaved to appearances. You are no longer trapped in the illusion that worth or safety or joy exists outside of you. You carry them within as frequencies, and the field cannot help but mirror them back. Freedom is not escape. Freedom is alignment. With freedom comes responsibility. For once you know that reality bends to coherence, you cannot deny that every vibration you emit shapes the whole. Every thought, every word, every action transmits into the field. You are always weaving. You're always collapsing waves. You are always creating. To live unconsciously is to scatter static. To live consciously is to weave symphonies. And so, each moment becomes sacred, not in solemnity but in precision. You know that what you embody is what you live. And this responsibility is joy. For it means you are never powerless, never abandoned, never without influence. The field is responsive, immediate, alive. The leap you once begged for is now revealed as your nature. You are not waiting for quantum jumps. You are quantum jumping always, endlessly, simply by being. So, when you look back at the version of yourself who panicked in the pause, who doubted in the turbulence, who clung to dissolving walls, you do so with compassion. You see that they were not weak. They were preparing. You see that their fear was not failure. It was proof that the leap was near. You see that everything they endured was not wasted. It was the very path that brought you here. And you bless them, for they carried you to the threshold. From here, the journey continues. But it continues with a new rhythm. No longer frantic, no longer desperate, no longer driven by scarcity. It unfolds with flow, with coherence, with trust. Each step is both ordinary and miraculous, for you see the miraculous in ordinary. Each breath is both human and divine, for you know there is no separation. Each moment is both fleeting and eternal, for you have tasted the timelessness of resonance. This is a quiet power of the leap fulfilled. Not a single explosion of change, but a continual unfolding of coherence. Not a dramatic before and after, but an endless stream of arrivals, each dissolving into the next. The leap does not end. It becomes your life. And so, you stand here, not at the finish line, but at the threshold, knowing that thresholds are infinite. You are not done. You are becoming. You are not waiting. You are unfolding. You are not reaching. You are resonating. And the field, in its infinite coherence, will continue to mirror you with precision beyond imagination. The leap was never waiting for perfect timing. It was waiting for perfect you. And now that you are here, coherent, aligned, present, the field bends around you with inevitability. The old frequency is gone, dissolved into silence. The new frequency is here, humming through your veins, saturating your breath, radiating from your skin. And from this frequency, everything flows. The silence has become song. The pause has become propulsion. The turbulence has become initiation. And you, who once feared the emptiness, are now the fullness itself.